Joining us now from Houston is political commentator Ben Ferguson, who believes this has been a 2-year witch hunt. And in Monterey, we have Spencer Critchley, a former advisor of President Obama, who says the report is very damaging. It's interesting, isn't it? For and against Trump, people can read the same report and draw very different conclusions. Let's come to you, first of all, Ben. Donald Trump, very clear.
Yeah.
He's vindicated.
Yeah. Yeah, he is vindicated. And the proof of it is that there is no collusion, no obstruction of justice. That's very clear in the report. If there was, we'd be having a completely different conversation right now. Now, from a political standpoint, Democrats are going to use this for the next 18 months to say that Donald Trump's the worst person in the world. He deserves to be impeached. But even Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, has come out and said, we're not impeaching. There isn't an appetite for it. There's not bipartisan support for it. She's at least being a realist about this. So everything after this report comes out is nothing but political theater. It is going to be used by Democrats to divide the country, to get their base fired up, to try to find whoever their candidate's going to be. And at this point, I kind of laughed because you had unlimited firepower. You had the full weight of the U.S. government to investigate something that just wasn't there, all based on lies and a fake dossier that started all this. It was all funded by the Democratic Party. So Democrats now losing their minds over this. It's now just gotten to the point of insanity, and you just got to laugh at it because there is no there. The president deserves to move on, and he deserves to smile and laugh about it.
Let's speak to Spencer Critchley. Remind Spencer, Democratic strategist who was communication advisor to Obama for 4 years. Spencer, it sounds like a witch hunt, according to Ben. Is it a witch hunt?
Well, if it's a witch hunt, it sure found a lot of witches. There have been all the indictments, and the behavior that we see in the Mueller report is devastating and would end a normal presidency in a normal time. I think really what we're looking at, unfortunately, in the United States these days is not just differing views of reality, but a conflict between whether you believe reality even exists or not. Unfortunately, Ben just listed a series of assertions which are not true. The good news is that the document is there. If people care to actually consult the document.
Not everybody watching our programme is intimately acquainted with American politics as both of you are. There wasn't there in the report, no evidence at all of collusion. There was some instance,
well,
there was some list of possible evidence of obstruction, but indeed, Ben's right, no charges brought.
Yeah, well, you know, we could go down the list, and unfortunately that's part of where this goes off the rails, because the point is really not to refute all of those points, which we certainly could do. Unfortunately, where we are now is the point is to create TV sound bites, which is exactly what I think Attorney General Barr was doing this morning. In effect, he was filming sound bites for the Trump re-election campaign by, in part, repeating this really meaningless claim of no collusion. There's collusion in plain sight all over the Trump administration from day to day. And the point that gets made too often, unfortunately,
hold on 1 second. You can't say that there's no collusion. You can't act like collusion is not an issue.
It's not at all what the... Excuse me, Ben. No. The collusion is happening in plain sight. And it is not true to say that there was no evidence of collusion. There's all kinds of evidence in the report of collusion, because collusion is not a crime. And there's a difference. There's a difference between being able to demonstrate a conspiracy.
That's what they were investigating.
They were investigating the crime of collusion.
You can't say collusion's not a crime.
Ben, could we take Ben again? Could we take turns here? Mueller himself is quite clear on this point. He didn't find evidence to bring the charge of conspiracy as he defined it, but I invite people to read the report. Unfortunately, this approach is relying on the assumption that people will not read, and instead they'll pay attention to TV sound bites like the meaningless reassertion of this meaningless phrase, no collusion.
2020, that's what it's all about. We're looking ahead to the next general election. Ben, I think I know what you're going to say, but what chances, well, how does this affect the chances to Trump's campaign now?
Look, I'll be honest with you. The best thing that could happen to Donald Trump's campaign is for Democrats to refuse to accept reality, try to spin this and say that there was a crime committed when they already investigated a crime that no one's been charged with. All it's going to do is guarantee the re-election of Donald Trump. I hope they don't let it go over the 18 months, because it's only going to fire up his base, and they're going to realize that people are coming after a president that was elected in a free and fair election.
The Democrats are not going to be focusing on this for the election. I think they're smart enough to realize that what the American people care most about are things like losing their health care, which Trump has been working overtime trying to achieve. And they care about really bread and butter issues like health care and jobs. And I think that you saw that that's what Democrats ran on in 2018. And the Trump-led Republicans suffered the greatest loss in Congress since Watergate, I believe, as a result. So I think that's where you'll see Democrats focusing, at least the ones who end up...
Not true.
Right, okay,
Bill
we'll have to
Clinton
leave
in
it, guys.
1994
We'll have to
lost
leave
the
it there.
House by a bigger number.
Thank you both so much. Thank you, Ben Ferguson, broadcaster and Trump supporter.
Thanks, guys.
And also Spencer Critchley, Democratic strategist, for joining us on Good Morning Britain.